It is now 85 seconds to midnight. 85 seconds to midnight. "85 seconds to midnight."
On play.
85 seconds to midnight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Preppers Fireside. Today, I'm joined by Barry, the brown coat prepper. How you doing, Barry?
All good, thank you. Fresh from a night shift, so here we go.
Excellent. And the Scottish Prepper 73, Brian, how you doing? Okay, excellent. I mean, that's the best we can hope for with Brian on. Alan, the world survivalist, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, mate. How are you guys doing?
All good. I donned half a shirt today. Thought I'd make an effort.
Where's the other half?
You don't want to see what's on the bottom half.
Oh, God.
It begins. Hello to all the chat that's in there. 160 people are already in, which is absolutely superb already. Great to see so many green names as well. So many members of both my channel and all the other channels as well. We're streaming across all 4 channels today: Brown Coat Prepper UK, Scottish Prepper 73, and World Survivalist. Whichever channel you're on, make sure you've hit the like button, make sure you've subscribed, and take the time to go around to the others and do the same. It would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
So, the topic today is... What was the topic today? It was threat analysis and situational awareness. Yes, I know.
Good start.
Listen, my brain is all over. You're lucky you're getting something out of me.
Was that ironic? Situational awareness, what's the topic?
Where am I? Who are all these people? Why are you staring at me? So yeah, threat analysis and situational awareness. And we've done situational awareness before, but it all comes part and parcel. So we'll talk a bit more about the threat analysis side of that and stuff. So the first point on this I want to make is why this topic. So Barry, why is this important right now as opposed to this time last year, would you say?
There's just so much going on. And it's not like local on your front door. It's worldwide, and everything just seems to be coming together and having a continuous knock-on effect with everybody.
Yeah. Anything in particular that's got you more alert?
Well, with the profession that I'm in, obviously we get information direct from the government, and they've been kind of upping certain bits of kit that we've been having to check and prep and make sure all the crews have got when they're out on the road. So, yeah, they're taking things pretty seriously.
That's good insider intel there. Thank you for that. Yeah. Brian, why is this an important topic at the moment?
Everything's coalescing to a nexus. We've got the perfect storm, literally, for everything. We've got creaking infrastructure electrically and the water side of things. We have got a financial crisis looming with a government that seems incapable of fixing a broken society. We've got a war that's been going on for the best part of 5 years in Europe with no signs of ending. Mm-hmm. We've got a stalemate and a peace deal in the Middle East that's showing no signs of abating. Former allies that have become at best indifferent to us. Everything's broken. Everything's broken, mate.
You're rattling off that list there, and I can see Alan going, leave something for me to say, Brian, for fuck's sake.
I was just going to say, yep, totally agree with Brian and leave it at that.
It is an important topic at the moment. Alan, have you started to do this more in your own life, you think?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the thing with like situational awareness, it's the very definition of, I think, what makes preppers a little bit different from the average Joe, because they're always concerned about the situation around them. And the odd thing is, I mean, people generally think they're living in the most important time in history at the exact point they happen to be alive. But I think there is something different with what's going on just in the world. And I can't pinpoint it to any one thing that happens to be in the news. It's the fact that there's just so many different things in the news. And that's strange. I mean, to me, situational awareness is kind of like the ability to see what's around, the ability to see what's normal, and when something deviates from the norm, whatever that baseline might be, that's a glitch. There's something going on, and there's just so much of that now. I mean, bloody aliens could invade tomorrow, and I would just be like, well, we've not had that yet, I suppose, this year. So yeah, it's
woohoo, probing time.
Yeah, it's hard to pin it down.
That's the last thing on my 2026 bingo card. It's the only thing that wasn't crossed off. It's a good time to talk about this, not just because of our own personal views on things going on around the world, but in the first time in quite a few years, the terror threat in the UK has gone to severe, which is the last step before critical, which is an attack is highly likely. And the only difference between that and critical is the words in the near future. So I'm not sure how they gauge that. It's just a ridiculous concept. But as far as I'm concerned, we're practically at the top level, according to the government. And we know the government are always the last to act. So if they're ahead of us, then we're in trouble. Right. So it's about information, first of all, and it's about knowing what's going on. So, Alan, start with you this time. So when a major national incident is breaking, mainstream media is notoriously slow or prone to early misinformation, allegedly. What are your primary non-traditional first alert sources to get raw, unedited data?
It depends what the specific thing is. The problem with mainstream media at the moment is that they lag behind a lot of the information. Everybody's aware of the sort of 24-hour news cycle being a thing, but that's now been overtaken by the much quicker news cycle of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and anybody with a phone and this kind of stuff. And the problem with mainstream media is they have to verify a lot of, or to be seen to be verifying the information that they put out. So something can be all over Twitter for hours or even a day sometimes before the BBC can even be bothered to report about it. But partly that's because they're afraid to report something that may turn out not to be entirely accurate. So it's hard to work out what's actually going on and what's being concealed from you from mainstream media. And the stuff that they do put out generally has some sort of bias, some sort of agenda base to it. So for me, I mean, I don't ignore mainstream media. I think if you are somebody who ignores mainstream media, you just do it at your peril. But you have to recognize the mainstream media you're viewing or taking that information from. What is their overall general bias? What's their angle to things? And when you understand that, it's fine. You can see through it. The BBC is very left wing. That's fine. As long as you know that, you can then see things through the prism of what they're telling you, because what they're telling you will be true. But they'll be leaving a whole bunch of stuff out because they have a particular angle that they want to sort of filter it through. And it's the same with any news organization. I get my news from 5 or 6 different sources. I follow American politics, but I don't do that by just watching CNN and Fox. I'll do that by listening to a very biased right-wing sort of news organization like the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro or something, and then I'll listen to what CNN has to say, and then I'll listen to something in the middle like Sam Harris, and from that I'll get my own broad picture of what's going on. You just have to learn to navigate media, I think, because none of us really know what's going on, and I don't think mainstream media knows mostly what's going on.
No, I 100% agree with you. I'm not going to go around the table on that too much, guys, because I think we all have pretty much the same answers, Discord, X, anything like that. Brian, how do you track national chain vulnerabilities or critical infrastructure strains before they hit the news cycle?
They're slow burns. So your electrical infrastructure doesn't overnight turn into a smoking pile of crap unless it's actually turned into a smoking pile of crap and it's physically blown up. if you're looking at a systemic lack of underinvestment, if you're looking at poor choices in your energy grid makeup, as in decommissioning plants without sufficient backfill, you can make a reasoned judgment that demand's always increasing and there'll be a certain amount of lead time to build up new infrastructure. Shit, the last nuclear power stations that they commissioned haven't even been built. They're 10 years overdue and twice the budget. And then you look at the waterworks, they're creaking and literally pissing money out of them, figuratively with water and everything else. Last year was replete with problems. That didn't just happen overnight in isolation. So with regards to infrastructure and things of that nature, we can see and make a reasoned judgment that it's going to be a long burn before there's a fix. So that's how I look at it.
Physical monitoring, though, you can actually watch the frequency, right? And there's a band frequency variation where it's dangerous.
So you can look on different websites and they'll show you in real time the electrical makeup of the grid, how it's made up from wind, gas, nuclear, hydro, and how much has been imported in real time. And then it'll also show you the frequency. So if a happy place would be about 48.9 to about 52, and it tries to keep it within that. And if it can't keep it within that, shit will be switched off. Demand control measures will come into place. There'll be warnings put out before that if they've got enough time to do so, which happened on the 8th of January this year and the 8th of January last year. If they don't have time to warn or take demand control measures, then automatically things will be turned off. So the headroom, the spare capacity before things become a problem just isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Barry, on the same thing, on the same sort of thing, not so much the infrastructure, but the supply chain, supermarkets, stockpiles, stuff like that, medical equipment, etc. Is that something you would keep an eye on? Like each time you go shopping, you find yourself naturally, I mean, I say it because I do, looking at stock levels of different items, the items that people would panic buy, right?
Yeah, I mean, in one of my past employments, I've worked in a supermarket, so I know sort of like a little bit about how the non-customer side of things work. And, you know, very often, as you say, there's times when you'll go in a supermarket, there'll be shelves empty, or they'll have just a single tray of something out. You know, I mean, having just a single tray out is, in my mind, straight away a flag worth noting. You know, and again, in the current employment as well, because obviously I've got access to medical bits and pieces. We've already seen shortages coming through to us already, and that's already causing us problems.
Right, which is worrying times when it's already getting shortages. Yeah,
I mean, silly simple things that would cost pence. Can't get them.
Yeah.
Did you say pens? Pens, as in pens?
No, PENCE. Pence.
Things that cost pence.
Pence.
Oh,
pennies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not my accent.
I was going to say that. I was going to say the NHS is taking a real.
It's not you, Barry. It's his Scottish ears. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought the NHS is taking a real shit if we can't buy pens for the paramedics.
They don't.
Yeah, you got to bring your own pen.
Supply your own.
Thank you, Evil Girl. There are still spaces this year for the Scottish Meet, and there's the link for it as well. Full weekend of camping at the end of August bank holiday. We don't promise great weather. We hope for great weather. It is a good time for the good weather up there, but it's a beautiful sight, even in the rain, and it's already selling out quite quick. We're going to have well over 100 people there already. Still room for you to get on there, so don't miss out on that one. And we will all be there, so you can meet us all and give us shit in person instead for a change. Right, so okay, so threat assessment. I've got a table here. Now, Mike Tango Whiskey did a video recently. It was a really good one, and he used a threat assessment table, which is already used like within different industries. So it's not something I'm stealing from him, but he pointed it out. So that is this here. which is great. It doesn't show up properly because it's got black writing. But there you go. You just have to put your head in front of the words, Barry. Go on to C. So you can see there it's negligible, minor, all the way up to significant and severe on the top, and then likelihood down the left. So if something is not really going to affect you and it's not very likely, then it's obviously low, how you should prepare for it, and so on and so forth. If something is like a zombie apocalypse is really high, but it's very unlikely, then it's still quite low. It's medium, but it's still quite low. So it's based on what you're preparing for and the risk likelihood of it. And it's a good index there for people to use. Barry, the different things you prepare for and think about, do you look at them in that way, how likely they are? And if they're more likely, does that mean you prep more? Or is if they're going to affect you more severely, do you prep more?
I tend to prep according to the current situations. I mean, I'm pretty much at a comfortable level with my preps, etc. And obviously, as I cycle through those preps, stuff gets replaced. But obviously, when I can see that there are certain shortages about either in the supermarkets or at work, etc., I will make an effort to top up those particular items. And I think that's just being prudent to do so, to be honest.
Excellent. Brian, you've seen that table. You've probably seen Mike's video as well. Do you look at different scenarios in that way?
So that table is basically a generic risk assessment table that is pretty much from industry. I think you generalize your preps, but you tailor them to your specific need. I think that's a common sense approach. If you have got a CPAP machine, then it would be prudent for you to buy a power bank before you extend your food supplies to 6 months if you've already got 3 months of food, because the likelihood of a power cut in your area causing you severe harm is very high. So you would tailor it for that. But if you do not need a CPAP machine and you don't need that expensive power bank, you might decide that you live out in the sticks, getting food to you is going to be problematic. So you might invest in more food. So most of our preps will be generic, but you'll tweak for your particular area, perceived risks, and any health complications and family needs.
Excellent. Alan, do you do a similar sort of thing? Because obviously you go out a lot, you spend a lot of your time outdoors, and I'm sure there's a vast difference between I'm just going to go to this forest and camp out for a weekend and I'm going to climb over this craggy rock face and try and get to this rare place. Do you do that kind of risk assessment yourself and base your kit off that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a few different ways I could answer this. Specifically from an outdoor point of view, there is no one set way of doing something. So there is no bag that you can grab or set of clothing you can wear and then go off into the world and expect to be able to get yourself through any kind of environment or any kind of situation. So you have to be selective about what it is you're doing, make a bit of an action plan, and take the appropriate equipment with you. Because, I mean, if you're just blindly going, up a mountain in winter, but you only have one set of kit that you also happen to go camping in the woods with in the summer, you're going to run into lots of different problems. So there are ways. I've got very generically prepared kit that I could probably break into sort of 3 categories. And then what I've got is several items which I will put in or take out of certain pieces of gear that I take based on where I'm going. Kind of like, I don't know what analogy you would use, kind of like, a driver or something, like a rally driver would change the specifications of his vehicle based on whether the road conditions were wet or it was a desert environment, a hot environment, a cold, you would change things, but the core of it is still the same. You're still basically driving a car.
Yeah. It's a toolbox, isn't it? Everything's a toolbox.
Yeah. I mean, all of the time I get questions on YouTube, things like, what's the best backpack? What's the best knife? Well, it depends. It depends what you're doing. It depends what you're using it for and what the purpose is. There is no best of anything. And I just generally in life as well, I risk assess things based on a couple of things. I base it largely on what can I actually do about it? How will it actually affect me? You know, you can be concerned about something, but there's not a lot of point of investing a lot of your time and money and worry into preparing for that specific thing if you have no control over it whatsoever. I could be concerned about China invading Taiwan, but there's nothing I can do about it. And what will that directly do, you know, to my situation should that happen? And I can go down the rabbit hole of thinking, well, it might affect this, it might affect that, it might affect this. But ultimately, I'm kind of just doom scrolling in my own mind for all of the possible scenarios of what could potentially go wrong. So I try to stay grounded with what I can genuinely control and what will genuinely affect me. But there's nothing wrong with being reactionary to things. You know, I prepped this month with fuel. I've got jerry cans of fuel still in my shed. That's not something I would normally do, but the current climate, the current situation has told me that was a good thing to do, and I'm happy I did it. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And in a few months' time, if the fuel prices go back to normal, I'll use that fuel and just go back to using a petrol station. You know, I won't prep fuel that way, but I've always got the option to pivot if I need to.
Yeah, and it's an excellent point with what you can control. Using something like this, that's risk to you, the likely, possible, unlikely, very unlikely, etc., has got to be to you as an individual. And you can only control your own sphere of influence, right? You step outside of that. I can't make Starmer step down. I can hope for it, but I can't make it happen. But I can prepare for any knock-on effects that might affect me directly. Last thing on the threat analysis side, Barry, is how do you know when it's actionable? So we see all these different things. We've talked about Super El Nino in the past. We've talked about solar flares. We've talked about World War III. All of these things are credible, viable reasons to prepare. At what point do you stop preparing and start actioning? I mean, and where's that line?
I think there'd have to be a significant uptick in the amount of information suddenly coming forth from everywhere. I mean, all you guys have got, as myself, we've all got our own sources of information that we would know and trust.
All preppers know a guy.
Of course. and obviously we know there's certain information that we would avoid like the plague. And when it all starts to say the same thing, when it all starts to say the same thing, then that's when I'm starting to seriously take notice of things getting worse.
Yeah. Brian, the tipping point for power and electricity is always the forefront of your mind, and with everything you do with prepping. At what point is it just sit back and if it happens, it happens? Or is there a tipping point where you go, crap, now I need to really do more? This is happening now. Where's that line?
It's too late then. It's too late. The time to do that is now. Not in a couple of years. It's now. It's one of these things, it's a slow burn. We know we've got an energy makeup that's in transition. We know that transition is in place to go the same way as much of Europe. We've seen how that worked out.
Down the ship.
And if we're no longer going to be building big spinning bits of metal, then it's going to be even more harder to control inertia on the grid, which is pretty much what bollocksed Europe and the Iberian Peninsula last year. And the pace that they do things is it's not going to meet the demand. They're talking about spending 52 billion in infrastructure improvements in the Great Grid Upgrade over the next 5 to 10 years. They're already mired down in planning disputes all over the UK. Some of it's getting built, some of it's started, but you've got to look at the track history. So on that slow burn, you've got time to do it now. When the lights actually do go out, you're competing with the herd. We don't compete with the herd as preppers. That's not what we do. You don't go and buy your 10 tins of beans and 60 toilet rolls when everybody else is fighting over a bottle of water. You have made reasonable preparations, splitting your budget over a long time before that. And if you're doing that with your power grid, then that's the same logic applies. You could save for a power bank or a generator or both now, and then when the lights do, God forbid, have a localized failure because of a storm, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be a big thing. It could be a small local thing that has direct effects for you. You don't have to have a huge grid failure, right? You don't have to have that. You could have a storm takes out the power lines or a substation blows up. The effects for you are the same. So you prep for that.
Yeah. Cool. Alan, you're a self-proclaimed non-prepper, but you've got the caches and bugging out's an option to you.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, and now Brian's joined Caravan Life with the missus, and he's got his new digs, and he's got all his new friends at the caravan site. He might.
I'm just going to say he's actually thinner than me, so I'm going to take that. That's a win. And the one with the green top, I don't know. I'll tell you right now, I don't have any neighbours like that. If I did, I'd still be up there just now.
That's a man.
Well, it's not ideal, but the light switch is a wonderful equaliser.
Alan, bugging out. It's one of those things that I think everyone stays on the edge with when something is about to happen, because you don't want to bug out and it's not necessary, but then you don't want to be in the crowd of people bugging out. So how do you assess the information coming in, the credible threats? How do you risk analysis that to say, right, let's go, guys, let's get in, off we go?
I think I've said this before, the prospect of me actually genuinely bugging out, as in I'm leaving my home, I'm picking up a bag, and I'm taking my family, my dog, and I'm genuinely heading for one of my caches, something really, really severe would have to happen at that point. I mean, to me, bugging out is just, temporarily relocating yourself to get away from something. So my house goes on fire, I bug out to a hotel or a relative's house or something like that for a period of time until you can sort that out. If you're bugging out to a genuine, bugging out to a cache, then something astronomical would have taken place, and I would know about that. It would be obvious. You're either running from the law, which is a separate thing altogether, or we're literally being invaded, or I think the missiles are incoming. If one of those three things happened, it will be an easy decision for me to make, because I will be at a point of absolute desperation.
That's the only point. Then it's not like a case of this might happen, so I'm going to go just in case.
No, I mean, you do. I mean, you run the risk of leaving it too late. That's always the problem. There's endless survival stories of people in hurricanes who, or tornadoes, who've just left it a bit too late. They've just said, no, the trajectory of the tornado was going this way. I'll hunker down. And then before they know it, that they're in a shitstorm, literally. So you do have to know when to pull the trigger to move. And it doesn't have to be a be all and end all anyway. If I bug out to one of my locations, I have, by the way, dry ran bugging out to one of my locations where I have a cache, and I've taken
on
my
your
family.
own or with the family?
With the family,
with the family.
But it's just a camping trip. That's really all it is, because all of the locations that I've got my preps and holes in the ground effectively are just places I camp anyway. But there's a bigger plan, there's a bigger strategy to it in my mind.
Dad, why did you ram that police officer off the road? It's just a camping trip, kids.
It's a camping trip, yeah. If I ever find myself frantically trying to get to one of these places, then I know something's changed. But I don't see any real risk in preparing that way without being. You don't have to be overly paranoid in order to do that, as long as you can fit it into your lifestyle. It was no great financial expense for me to set those caches up, because it was just years of accumulated stuff. So I didn't have to add much to it in order to do it. It didn't take a lot of time for me to set these things up, and it's all places I go anyway, and it's based around a subject that's part of my life. So it's no hardship for me to do. But I'm always cautious about recommending other people do this who aren't like me, because there is a bit of a paranoia borderline that's easy to cross. You can manufacture your own crisis based on nothing really. And that in itself is just a stressor in life that's just unnecessary.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think risk assessment aside, it all boils down to reading the room, right? It's about situational awareness. That's what it boils down to. So that's kind of where we'll move on to. Before we move on to that, I know I mentioned it at the start, but I haven't put the picture on. I was going to put the picture on for the Scottish meet, but I'm useless and I've not done that. Don't forget, the Scottish Prepper Meet is the end of August. Langholm, Scotland. You can book through ukpn.org. Go to the shop. It's on the homepage there. Loads of places, live firesides. Barry's going to be demoing all his survival skills all day, every day. He doesn't know yet, but lots of demos, lots of great things going on, lots of fun, and a great social atmosphere. Brian, what did you enjoy the Scottish meet last time?
It's fantastic. I mean, you never know what you're going to find when you get there. Ultimately, you've had people that you've spoken to on the internet. I mean, we know one another pretty well, but ultimately you're turning up and it's a punt. It's out the blind. You might be travelling a bit to get there, and there's a certain amount of nerves, right? For most people, because it's the unknown, and we don't like the unknown. There was nobody standoffish. Everybody gelled well. It was a complete piss take when people try to put tarps up in the rain, horizontal rain. Strong winds. You try to set Hawkins' expensive tent on fire. Leaving my power bank to float about in the tent in its own filth. And then I risk assessed it and decided the best course of action was to jump in the camper van, turn the heating on, put the Xbox on, and let you go on.
And and he genuinely did. And Barry, we had a good night while he was in there keeping warm anyway, despite the weather, right?
Oh, it was great. We were absolutely soaking wet, but what the hell? It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you woke up in your own personal swimming pool as well at one point. So
ensuite, yeah.
Ensuite, okay, yeah.
And power banks survive urine puddles. Apparently, I found out.
Yeah. No, it was great, mate. I mean, like as soon as you announced that there was going to be another one this year, I'd signed up straight away. There's no way I'm missing. That's for sure.
Excellent. I'm not going to ask you because you didn't bother last time, Alan. You just didn't like us enough. Then you would think these are weird preppers.
I don't think.
I'd be right.
I don't think I was even part of the Discord back then. Can't really remember. It's almost been a year, but I tell you what, though. I mean, I'm looking forward to going to the Prepper Meet. It's the first time I've ever been to something like that as well. And the closest thing I've done to something like that is I've been to the Bushcraft show before, and I think I've maybe been to one other something like low-key sort of bushcrafty before. But I mean, for the most part, I'm quite an introverted person. I'm not I'm not a survival expert. I'm not, I don't instruct people or anything like that. So for me, I've deliberately taken myself a little bit out of my comfort zone to say, you know what, I am going to be more involved in this community because I can learn a lot from the prepping community and maybe contribute something just based on some of my outdoor sort of antics, whether people are interested in that or not. But deliberately saying, yes, I'm going to sign up for this, I'm going to go, I'm going to chat to people, and I'm going to interact. That's a step outside of my comfort zone, and I consider that a prep. I consider that me changing my outlook on life and me doing something physical in the world that can make a difference to the changing environment. And, so that kind of goes for anybody else, because I imagine there's lots of people listening to this who are thinking about going to it and saying that it's not really for me. Well, it's not really for me either, to be honest, or I don't think it is. But I'm assuming it will be. And so you have to take the leap to go and find out, because, we all have the stigma of a bunch of sort of crazy people, meeting up in a campsite. I know it's not like that, but I think it's worth putting yourself out there a little bit and, see what's going on.
You're right, because the last one we had at least two blokes that came on their own that they were skeptical about coming. We had a couple of ladies that came on their own that were worried about coming because they didn't know how they'd be received, sort of thing. All felt welcome, all loved it, all rebooked the next time round. So it's a testament to the community and everybody there. So yes, this is an advert. This is me trying to sell the Scottish Prepper Meet to you because I want it to be super successful. I'm also speaking at the Bushcraft show this weekend coming, next weekend even, whatever it's coming. I'm speaking there on Saturday and Sunday in the Preppers area. So you can see me there. Well, that costs you hundreds and odd pounds. Scottish Prepper Meet's only 35. So you do the math.
Do you know what it is when you drill down to it? All this Scottish Prepper meet is like the last one is a group of like-minded people meeting up to discuss a hobby, a pastime, an interest, a passion that might make your life that little bit easier should something unexpected happen. And no matter what you think, you'll have something to share, be it a story, a bit of humour, or a skill that people will listen to. You've nothing to be scared about. And you can be as involved as little or as much as you want. If you want to turn up and listen to talks going on, walking round about and not get involved, that is absolutely fine. And go back at night and sit in your tent and cook and you enjoy that, that's fine. If you want to get involved and take the piss out of people and sit around the fire and have a beer, that's there for you as well. It's what you want it to be.
Yeah, you can do both. You can be antisocial as hell on the first night and then try and join in and be the centre of attention on the second night. Not mentioning
for
any
me.
names.
There's also the site's also got that kind of mini farm thing going on, hasn't it? So if there's any young kids that are going to get brought
award-winning
along as well,
show sheep.
there's animals, there's sheep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether Miss Worm can post a link to the actual site itself.
Well, she posted the thing on there, and it's got all the details on there about the site.
There you go. Then. Yeah.
It's got all that. Funnily enough, if you look at the site and you see all this cool drone footage and aerial shots, that is our last prepper meet because it was JP getting all this footage last time. Anyway, advert over. That was a long advert. Everyone's looking for that skip button in the bottom right, going, "What the is going on?" They won't stop talking about selling me stuff. Situational awareness. So, I mean, I've done a little introduction to it, which is a brochure which you can download for free. Go onto the Discord and find that one. But it's a massive thing that I think is missing in society a lot. For some unknown reason, people just aren't aware of things going on around them. And it's all to do with these little digital devices in their hands 24/7. Alan, normalcy bias makes people assume everything is fine, even when alarms are going off. How do you train people or systems to break out of normalcy bias without turning them completely paranoid?
Well, that's the thing. It's really just a case of understanding what normal is. If you understand what the baseline for what is perceived to be normal is, then when something deviates away from the norm, you can identify it. And most people don't pay much attention to slight changes in normal everyday life, which is why their reaction times are slower. I think I said before when we did the talk about normalcy bias, actual studies have shown that people who aren't aware of normalcy bias can often take several minutes to make a decision based on the change in their environment. But simply just being aware of what normalcy bias is, that it is actually a thing that exists, people have then been shown to react in a matter of seconds as opposed to minutes. And that could be, it can be a life or death situation to anything. It could be sitting on a train and realizing something slightly out of the normal. It could be walking across the road and realizing that there's something slightly off with what's going on and just paying a little bit more attention. And normalcy bias or situational awareness is critically important in survival as well, because most people who go into wilderness environments, they end up in trouble because they ignore the signs. They have a perceived idea of what's normal to them, and they'll just blindly walk. Okay, I know the weather's good, I know the environment, I'm just going to walk in this direction, even though everything about their gut is telling them, wait, there's something off here. The weather's starting to change a little bit. The scenery looks a little bit off, and yet they'll power ahead anyway. And it's ignoring those little cues that mean you end up getting yourself into trouble. So you have to identify the differences. It's hard to explain how to do that actually, but
yeah,
I could try, but I'll mumble too much if I try and talk about the way I do it.
That's all right. Brian does, and we still let him back.
Yeah, I think it's really ultimately it's about reading what's going on around you, actively interpreting the environment and the behaviors and observing. And if something's slightly off, pay attention to it. Just pay attention. That's all you have to do.
Brian, we often hear the phrase "trust your gut." Is the gut a reliable analytical tool, or is it poorly structured data? How much should you put trust in a gut feeling when something like this is going on?
We're wired to keep ourselves safe, right? You'll get an impending sense of doom and fear, most of us walking towards a cliff, because your brain is telling you subconsciously, bad shit's going to happen if you walk to the edge of that cliff. Same as we don't like the dark. We know we're limited by the dark. We can't see. Our senses are stunted. So we get a fear of the dark. Our fear mechanisms are hardwired to try and keep us safe. But that common sense, because ultimately, when we talk about this subject, all it is the application of common sense. You don't make toast in the bath. Sounds ridiculous, but common sense tells you bad shit will happen. The same as if you're walking about covered in gold like Mr. T, walking through a city, looking at your phone, and you go down an alley, common sense says bad things are probably going to happen, right? So the problem these days, people are conditioned to be reliant on somebody else will fix it. Nothing's going to go wrong to you because we're going to take care of it. Big state, big brother is looking after you. Trust in us, right? That's my personal opinion. We are conditioned from childhood now to rely on state, services, other people.
Yeah.
We're risk averse with our children, putting them out to play. When I was growing up, they called it casual neglect. My parents still loved me, and I knew to be back before night time when the street lights come on.
Streetlights.
But other than that, yeah, I was free to hurt myself for 8 or 9 hours a day and find my own way in life. I never did that with my kids.
Just getting a saw out your tool shed, Dad, to go and make a den. Yeah, that's fine.
That was normal. That was life. You were allowed to find your feet and figure out that if you do this, that will happen. There'll be consequences to actions. Whereas now, we're cuddled and hugged by society to the extent that you don't have this natural ability suppressed. I hope that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Mark's e-bike adventure said, "No one is coming to save you," and it's still my second most popular T-shirt that I've just put in the link in there after Stuck Farmer. They're my 2 most popular T-shirts. That one and Stuck Farmer. It's almost like people don't trust the government. Barry, how do you define? So when Brian was talking there, he mentioned things like fear of the dark and stuff like that. And you obviously, you don't want them things to overwhelm you, like where you become a recluse. So how do you define the difference between a vulnerability and an active threat?
I think a vulnerability is something that you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that could suddenly turn up very unexpectedly. But it can also, as Brian's already said, it can also be a slow burn thing, building, and then it becomes very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one to answer for me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's that you're looking down that dark alley, and it could be a completely dark alley, but it's the quickest way to get home.
Yeah.
It's at what point do you think some guy's going to jump out and mug me or not? Or is it a case of do you take the risk? Do you avoid it altogether? It's how do you establish that, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's an element of peer pressure as well. That same alleyway you might not walk down yourself, but if you're a 20-year-old lad full of testosterone, your own bravado, your own invulnerability, and you've got your girlfriend, you're not going to want to look like an absolute wuss. So you might decide that we'll take that shortcut. You'll put yours and your partner's personal safety to the side because of perception.
Yeah. It's a weird one because there's a fine line between that and just being chivalrous and looking after your partner, right? Because you want to protect them as well. I'm old school, like I always walk on the side of the traffic instead of the missus sort of thing and stuff like that. It's just little subconscious things like that. But yeah, it's a difficult one because I think that's where the gut instinct comes in, right?
Yeah. I think Go on, sorry, Brian.
Sorry, go ahead, because I've got a bunch of stuff to say on gut instinct.
Okay.
So.
I mean, like we're talking about this proverbial alley that you walk down. You may have walked down that alleyway during the daytime, broad daylight, and know that alley like the back of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But that situation can change, as you say, when it goes dark, because you can't see what's down there, and that's going to up your fear level. That's kind of the same situation as everybody's in at the moment. The world goes on, normalcy bias, blah, 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 blah. But in the background, you've got these looming threats that are coming and coming and coming. And that's like the darkness closing in and making that alleyway inaccessible through your own fears.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm trying to go with that?
No, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you don't want to be paralyzed by the fear either, sort of thing. So, go on, Alan. You've got a lot to say on it.
Well, it's interesting you bring up gut instinct, because a lot of people mention that, and the gut instinct is critically important to survival generally. But the first thing to say about it is the gut instinct's a real thing. It's not. It's the enteric nervous system. That's what that's called, and it's a genuine connection between your gut and your actual brain, and it's genuinely there because it's like we're kind of alluding to a little bit, like Brian's talking about. It's there as an evolutionary byproduct to interpret in danger, even if you don't previously have the knowledge about it in the first place. So very young babies, for example, don't really have a fear of snakes. If you put a bunch of babies in a pen and put some snakes in there, they'll play with the snakes. They won't have the inner, inbuilt fear of that. But there will be a point where they get to a little bit older, where they become a toddler, where suddenly they do have a fear of snakes and spiders and things that crawl, and nobody's taught them to be afraid of that. But that's the gut instinct part of the evolution kicking in and developing and providing that, wait a minute, a snake could be a potentially dangerous thing, even if you don't really know why that is or what it is. The fear of the dark in children, and even in some adults, is there as an evolutionary byproduct of the fact that as human beings, as primates, we don't see very well in the dark. And yet the things that are there to hunt us and eat us, like, big cats, see fantastically in the dark. And we're programmed to fear the dark for that reason. Now, over time, as human beings, we've learned to suppress a lot of these instincts. And it comes right up until present day. We suppress the instincts by giving ourselves knowledge. So when I go into the woods in the UK, for example, and I hear all the spooky noises and branches breaking, the average person would be kind of afraid of that, because that's their natural instinct. Even if they rationalize it away and say, well, I know there's nothing out here, what am I afraid of? There's no bears, there's no wolves or anything like that. But unless you do that continuously all of the time and actually purposely program your way out of that instinct, you will always have it. And you shouldn't suppress it entirely, because it is a good thing to have. Every now and again, I'll hear a snap and a tree fall, in the woods, and I have to interpret whether that's just a branch falling or whether there's genuinely just somebody walking along the woods, and that's something I have to pay attention to. So you can't be blind to it. The problem with modern society, and when we're talking about the general population and not a survival situation, is we live in a society now where we're continuously told to suppress our natural instincts, to the point where I call it suicidal empathy. That's not something I've coined. It is generally just something that our society in the West generally is currently going through. So I've used many examples before of where you can see this, but like me as a person, like my age, the way I look right now, all of that kind of stuff. If I'm walking down, as we say, a dark alley, and I happen to see a crowd of shifty-looking teens, down one alley, and an alley that looks less hostile, but is a longer way to get to where I'm going. If I go with the suicidal empathy approach and say, well, you know what, I'm not going to stereotype those young people. They're probably just enjoying, having a good time. Why should I fear that? I'm going to purposely take the shortcut here and walk towards that crowd, because I want to demonstrate to them that I'm no threat to them, and I don't believe they're a threat to me, because that's the way I want society to be. And then I get bugged, and then people
don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, but then that's kind of victim blaming. You're blaming the victim when they end up in a situation like that. And this is controversial, and I've said this before in Firesides, but in that case, the victim is to blame because he suppressed his own natural instincts to put himself purposely in a situation where it could be potentially dangerous because he wants to do something. I'm virtual signaling to the world that I want something to be a particular way when all of my natural instincts are telling me that's wrong, avoid it. And you just have to learn to sort of tune in and out of it. Everybody sees a nutcase on the subway. You know, anybody that's been to London goes onto a subway train and sees some random nutter, and you're like, okay, and they still sit down anyway. Whereas if I'd seen the same nutter in my small town, I would, it'd be a wide berth. But the logic in me is saying, well, yes, this is London. Half the people here are nutcases. This is just normal. But I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to it. So you have to learn what is a genuine threat, what is normal, and what isn't. Because that nutcase on the subway in London is kind of normal for London, but it wouldn't be normal for where I live. So I would give the person a much wider berth here than I would in London, if you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I worked in London for months, mate. Walking about at 5 a.m, checking elevators. I felt safer there than Glasgow, I've got to be honest. Central London, that is.
Right.
Well,
so that's the classic scenario.
An example,
but that's the classic scenario. If there's no nutcase, that's because you're it, Brian. So you are the people who avoid the wide berth of.
Gee, thanks. I feel so judged right now.
Alan, I've got a follow-on question which relates to what you were talking about with the tree falling in the woods. Not a philosophical one, but how do you separate actionable signals from everyday background noise? Because you mentioned the woods. I would also hazard to mention I live in an urban environment, and it feels like every other month fireworks are going off constantly. Somebody's celebrating something. It's some sort of holiday. So there's constant explosions going off and stuff like that. How do you separate what's actionable and what's just everyday background noise?
Because again, it comes down to you've got to understand what the baseline of normal is for that particular situation. You have to risk assess where it is you're at and what it is you're doing and what all the possible dangers are. You don't have to be, completely, mental about it and think everything's a danger because you'll never get anything done. There has to be a point where you say, yes, I'm not entirely sure about that, but I am going to take the risk. It's about risk management. If I wanted to make sure I 100% never get a tree falling on me in the night and killed, which by the way is the only thing I genuinely fear when I'm out in the woods.
Didn't you wake up next to a tree?
Yes, yes, recently. After talking about that very thing, it actually happened. I mean, but I would say if I wanted to eliminate that as a risk entirely from my life, I would just simply never sleep in the woods again. But I've decided that I want to do that, so that's an element of sort of risk management I've included in life. I've camped in places in the world that have bears. I've camped in Slovakia before, and they have genuine bears in the woods. And so I pay a little bit more attention to certain noises in the woods there than what I would to, a rampant badger in the woods here, because I have an understanding of what is and isn't likely to be a threat to me in that particular environment. That said, if I was in, I don't know, the woods in Hyde Park or something, if they've even got woods, I would be thinking about something completely different. You know what I mean? The noises and the branches would possibly be something else because it's
just a different jar, Alan. You've got a big jar of Marmite for the bear and you've got a big jar of Vaseline for Hyde Park, so it's all good. Yeah. The system works.
I think if you're hanging about the woods in Hyde Park, you're probably looking for a bear anyway. You know what I mean? It's just...
Mike's just going, kind. I just spoke about this shit before we come on. I ask you all.
Tried to get them to play nice, guys. Tried to get them to play nice.
Made it to almost an
hour. Right. Barry, when planning a route, what are your primary physical choke points or funnels that you look for that represent the highest risk?
You mean as if I was heading out to a bug out location?
Bugging out, bugging in, getting home. What are the choke points? What are the funnels? What are the physical places you think this is the riskiest part of this journey kind of thing? What are you looking for on the map that other people might need to think about?
Okay, I'll mentally take a route through one of my plans, there's a couple of one-way streets that I've got to go down. So if I'm in transport and somebody blocks off that other way, that's an issue, because one-way streets around here tend to be literally park on the pavement, space for a car, park on the pavement. So if you get stuck, that's a choke point. Other choke points would be motorway on-off ramps as well. They're going to get clogged. Roundabouts, uncertain routes as well, because if you go down a route that you're not used to, you don't know what's going to be ahead of you. If you follow a route that you've traveled down before, you know what's there, you know what to expect, and you can deal with it. But obviously, if you're going a route that you've never been down before, how are you going to deal with what crops up in front of you if you don't know what's coming?
Yeah. Brian, same question. If you're planning a route bugging out, what kind of things would you consider the high risk points of the journey?
The high risk points will be the journey is when it takes a turn out of the norm. We plan these things in our head, and we've got this notion of how it will go. And chances are it'll never go that way. You can game it as much as you like, but in most scenarios, for anything bad that we talk about, you're probably going to be on your way home from work in a vehicle, and for whatever reason, the road network grinds to a halt. So I would assume at some point along that journey, I'm hoofing it, which brings its own problems at the moment. But I would always assume on any route coming home, that road will be blocked, and at some point I'm going to have to get home on foot. And I don't think that's unrealistic in the UK with the road networks. If you're coming home from the shops or coming home from work, that assume that at some point on that trip you're walking and your car is stuck.
Yeah.
Because you're reliant on assholes in front and behind you.
Yeah. Alan, same question. When planning on a map, are you looking for specific points like I best avoid that? I mean, for me, one of the major things would be in an SHTF situation would be major motorways, for an example. Crossing over a major motorway would be a point that I would consider. Is there anything else like that, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things like that when you really think about it, especially if you're thinking about trying to get from point A to point B, because the trap is that you go from point A to point B using the most direct, easiest access, the easiest way of getting there. The thing is, everybody else will do that as well, so that's something to be aware of. I remember when I was very deliberately, and I spent a lot of time working out where I was going to put my caches. I had a rough idea because there's maybe 3 or 4 dozen places I like to camp in the UK that's within a distance that I could easily get to, and I had to make a decision. What direction was I going? How far apart do I want to space them? And how easily can I get to each one of these places? But I also then had to factor in, okay, how easy is it for me to get to this place, say, on foot? You should always really look at things like that from an on-foot point of view, because roads and things like that are easy choke points generally. So how easy can I get to a place on foot? How likely is it for me to get there and not be impeded along the way with other people who are also walking there on foot? As in, if I'm just walking along a path on a canal, well, anybody else, if the road is blocked, is going to take that path as well, because it's nice, it's flat, it's straight, and it has a very obvious, direction. So if I'm plotting my route along a canal path, I have to be aware of the fact that other people are likely to be there as well. And if it was a hostile situation, that's an obvious place to put a checkpoint. Where would I put a checkpoint if I was looking to, impede somebody's movement somewhere? So you factor that in as well. And then you have to factor in, what's the visibility of the place? Is this a highly likely place that other people are going to want to come to, pass by, or notice? I think we talked about this when we did the camp on the island with the castle. Now, on paper, that's a fantastic place. It's an island. It's got a cool castle on it. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the Scottish Highlands, surrounded by fresh water. There's food availability, all that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately all of us came to the same conclusion that in a real SHTF situation, that wouldn't be a very good place to go. because it was generally hostile. There was people around it. It was well known. The land was owned, though I don't think that person would have any care that we occupied it for a period of time. But it was
the conclusion was you'd need the men to defend it, right? The not men physically, women as well, but the physical bodies to defend it.
There would have to be a very particular set of circumstances in place for that to become a viable option. But when I'm looking at a place for like a cache site or a bug out site, I usually base it on what would I be able to do if there was only me left in the world, basically. I'm the only person here. I'm a one-man band. Can I support this? Is this a good place to be? And if the answer is no, well, then you have to think about your plan differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a rabbit hole because you can go down endless scenarios. What if I'm being chased by the law? Do I have to hide from thermal imaging? Do I have to hide from drones? Do I have to hide from the Russians? You know what I mean? And there's no point of getting yourself down that rabbit hole if it's not likely. You know, plan for what's genuinely likely.
Second time you've mentioned being chased by the law tonight. Is there something you need to tell us here?
Well, do you know?
There's an alibi.
I think. Do you know? I think I mention it because we have to keep things in perspective when it comes to bugging out. Because bugging out into a wilderness environment is genuinely something for people who live like in America, a big country with big wildernesses, or even Europe to an extent, which is bigger and has more wildernesses, but it's densely populated. The UK hasn't been invaded for over 1,000 years. 1066, I think, was the last time Britain was invaded. So what's the prospect of that happening again, where I'm being chased by the Russians or the French, and I'm having to hide in the woods? It's very, very small, almost minuscule. So there's no point in really thinking about it. So what am I built? What do I have caches for? I mean, I'm not likely to be chased by the law, I hope. You know what I mean? That is probably one of the very few things that people do end up running out to the woods and bugging out for. Because
watch Alan's new channel, Jail Survivalist.
I mean, so and the other thing is you kind of just lose your mind a little bit and you want to live like a hermit or whatever. That's a perfectly valid thing. That's more likely to happen to me than be chased by the law, I have to say. So I mean, really, it was just an exercise and I wanted to do it because it was an area of interest, and I utilise the caches as supply zones anyway. I check on them now and again, and when I camp in those places, it's just a resupply area. So it's not just a wasted. It's not a time capsule that I've buried in the ground and I'm going to ignore forever. You know, I make use of it. But you have to be realistic. I mean, if you're literally burying something out in the woods like a bug out zone, what the hell are you doing it for? You know, are we really likely to be invaded? Probably not. You know, so you have to justify it to yourself as to why you're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Right, two more, and then we'll take a couple of questions from the audience. Brian, how do you keep family safe when they're not aware of security protocols? So we talk about light discipline. In a blackout situation, we talk about moving at night and being stealth in a bug out situation. That's all well and good if we're the only people that prep. How do you translate that over quickly and effectively to family or to your group?
Prior to an event or a problem, it's nigh on impossible for me, and I don't think that will be unique to me, because at best you're tolerated, right? You are crazy dad, crazy uncle, crazy friend, crazy neighbour. So
crazy.
You'll have a wry smile, some interest, but ultimately they're not going to do it. And I could explain to my kids why you should do this and why you want to do that. Even like, say, my son going to the football, don't have your scarf out. Keep it under your jacket, because some idiot could come along and hit you with a bottle or attack you because you've got the wrong colour scarf on. That is a prep, but that is something that he's oblivious to, and I'm overreacting and I'm paranoid. I'm not. I'm just a lot older than you, and I've seen the shitty side of human nature a bit more often. And until they are in that situation, then they'll be motivated to learn some life skills at that time. Prior to that, the generations that we're involved with, I can't do it.
So is it just going to be a case of when it happens, you're going to have to just try and convey that information as quickly and as efficiently as possible?
everybody's very keen to learn to swim when the boat sinks, right?
Yeah.
Up until that point, nobody wants to dip in the pool. So, and I can't fly, but if an aeroplane's crashing, I'll give it a good fucking go, right? Situations motivate people better than I ever will. If your lights are out and you've got a power cut, people will be more inclined to listen to me if I can give them heat, light, warmth, right? I'll be somebody to listen to. Until that point they need me, I'll be tolerated.
Yeah. Okay. Valid answer. I think we're all in a very similar situation. So we'll move on with a round the table question for everyone to give an example of if they can. Start with you, Barry. Throw you under the bus first. If you could bust one myth from Hollywood about physical security, martial arts, awareness, etc., something on this topic, what would it be?
Don't think you're the best martial artist in the world, because there's always going to be somebody better than you.
Okay. That's fair enough. Don't think you're a decent martial artist if he's got a shotgun, I would say. No, okay, that's fair enough. Brian, if you could dispel one myth related to this that's like perpetrated by Hollywood and stuff like that, what would it be?
Everybody thinks when something goes wrong, they'll automatically have skills to fall back on. Skills that you don't know, skills you don't train, that you don't practice, won't be there. You will freeze. That's what we do. That's how we respond. 9 times out of 10, in an unfamiliar situation, we freeze unless we train in a situation to avoid that natural response. So you need skills, you need experience, and you need to practice. Otherwise, how can you expect it to work? It's maintenance for your body and your mind.
Yeah. They rarely show people, unless it's like some damsel, they rarely show people freezing like the flight, fight, or freeze. You know, it's...
Look at the average person in our audience when you look at the figures, right? It's generally 40 plus male, most of the audience for our viewing figures across all the channels for the most part.
Because you scared the rest off. Carry on.
So, and you've got to have an honest, no bullshit approach to your own physical limitations, what you do, how you train, if you train, what exercise you do, manual job, all this kind of stuff. But we don't. And yet when something goes wrong, everybody is, or a lot of people think they will put on a backpack that they've never tried with a weight that they've never used and comfortable with, and walk 10 miles in the piss and rain when the furthest to walk is to the car, to jump in the car, to go to the shop for a pint of milk. That's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense.
Fair enough. Alan, same question. Dispel a myth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to echo everything Brian just kind of said there, because especially in wilderness types of survival, the myths behind wilderness survival are numerous and endless. And a lot of people really do have this idea that they'll kind of just figure it out when they get there. They know something's possible, so they'll just sort of have a crack at it if they need to, or they've watched a couple of YouTube videos on doing it, but they have no muscle memory or actual experience or skill in actually trying to have a go at that. I mean, fire from friction is probably one of the most classic survival things that most people are aware of, and everybody probably has an idea of roughly how you do it, based on watching movies and people on YouTube doing it in 2 minutes. Right? Try and actually do it though. Actually spend an afternoon getting the right wood and then going into a nice environment and spend some time to actually try and do that. I tell you what, I can do it now and again. Every year I like to try and do it a couple of times a year just so I remember how to do it. The last time I did it, it took me the best part of 4 hours to get a fire going from friction. And I've done it probably a couple of hundred times in my life.
I thought you meant something else there. A couple of times a year, and then you got to 4 hours. I'm thinking, I'm genuinely impressed. I need to up my game. And then you said fire, and I was like, oh, I was wrong.
A couple of times a year would be good. But
Birthdays and Christmas.
Just go and have a lie
Lex
down.
is going.
I tried, guys. I tried.
It's hard though. I mean, it's hard to separate because everybody has this inner monologue of what they want to be, what they think they are. You know, and I bet preppers are really guilty of this as well. They have a room full of all their preps and they've got all the latest gadgets and stuff like that. But
No,
you know, sometimes, you know,
no.
you need to put it into practice.
I feel attacked right now, Alan. I'm just throwing that out there. I feel judged.
Do you know the only time when I see preppers on YouTube showing, you know, they're showing off their kit and their preps and things like that, the only time I sort of squint my eyes a little bit is see when it gets to the point where they start showing their camping gear or their bug out gear, and I see fancy shiny new cookware and fancy shiny, you know, things that have clearly never seen a bloody stick in their life. I always think, you know, I wish you would actually just spend some time away from a campsite and give that a go. Because you'll suddenly realise that it doesn't matter how great your sleeping bag is, or your knife, or your cook's kit, or your fancy jet boil. See the fact that you've just got your foot wet getting to the campsite because you've stepped in a big puddle. That's going to be your problem all night now.
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't realise that. That's a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my dispelling Hollywood kind of thing would be very similar to what you're talking about with the skills, but based around nutrition, food, fitness, water, and not realizing how much you need for how much you do. Rarely you see on these survival films them actually eating what they should be eating and using that energy and having that, you know, and dealing with fatigue and dealing with stuff like that. And if you're low on food and rations, not being able to then go out and hunt because you haven't got the energy to do so. So it's kind of that keeping yourself fit and knowing how much you need to intake and stuff like that would be my one for that one. So I thought it'd be a nice one just to dispel a few myths at the end there. Right. We've got, 20 minutes ish to get some questions through if everyone's all right. Depends how many Pepsis Brian's in. Right,
just to 4.
I've started a few. Get you some questions in now. It's not a full Q&A, so we're not going to get to all of them. I'll get to the ones I can. And the ones I've previously starred. Is Barry allowed to tell us what they're upping? I think you mentioned PPE, right, Barry?
Yeah, PPE. Full face respirators, that kind of thing.
Okay, excellent. So there you go. That should tell you what you need to know there. Just seeing reports that 2 nuclear plants in the Middle East have been hit. Anyone know if this is indeed true? And if so, how does this pan out for us all?
It was in the outskirts of the UAE. A missile came in earlier today.
Right. I mean, I don't think...
Unless this is a new article. It didn't hit it direct.
Yeah, no, I don't think if it's not a direct hit, and I don't think it's a Fukushima situation, I think we should be okay. But it's an ongoing assessment all the time.
I think it was a drone strike sparked a fire, you know, like on the perimeter of somewhere in the UAE. That was the only thing I caught about it a few hours ago. That was on Al Jazeera News, so they're always a little bit shaky with the details.
At least they report it. What items are in short supply and do you know why? I think that was the same question for you there, Barry. Has Brian fallen off the wagon and back on the Pepsi?
Just a little bit.
No, I'm fine. I can stop when I want.
I'd rather you
literally surrounded by empty cans.
There may be some truth in that.
I mean,
fuck you guys. I can stop when I want. I don't have a problem.
I'd rather you be drinking the Pepsi than a glass of half water, half Pepsi. That was just horrendous. Some sort of tragedy. Have you heard about Octopus giving away free electrics when it is too much available? Sounds great on paper, but shows the system isn't working as it should. What can you say about that, Brian?
Yeah, they've been doing that for years. So they'll have power windows and they will tell you by email and say, good news, free power from this window to that window. So it's basically a demand control measure. So the energy regulator has got too much juice and they've got to get rid of it. and then they'll do power saving windows where they have, and it's a low level demand control measure. They will send out an email asking you to save power between generally like 4 and 7 whenever he's making their tea, and they'll incentivize you to save power from, if you normally use 6 kilowatts that day, they will incentivize you for that time and pay you to not use electricity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is something like that something you could monitor, and if it becomes more often, it would be alarm bells, or would it?
It's becoming more often. 100%.
Yeah.
It's becoming more often. It's a very, very low level, non-alarming way to get the public to help balance the grid, because that's all we're doing. We are helping to balance the grid by using less power at one time and use power when they've got an abundance the next. And the more people I've got.
That means whatever they email to do, Hawkins is going to do the opposite, right? It's just he's trying to sabotage the grid.
He'll have an electric fire in his garden.
We got our first £2 super chat of the night, an hour and 15 in. Thank you, Slim Yin.
Thank you very much.
That's on Brian's channel, I believe. Is stag chili still the number one prep?
Yes, dynamite. The dynamite hot one's fantastic. See if you put it on hot dogs as well with cheese, epic.
I've never tried it.
All right, American Alan.
It's great. Great.
What you guys need is a chili cheese dog in a survival situation. You can go and go and join Brian and his friends down at the trailer park.
Put that back up. I was wanting to see the green top again.
No.
You're going to send me that?
I don't rate stag chili, and I might lose some subscribers for that, but no, not a fan. Overpriced, full of kidney beans. No.
It costs less than £2. It's not that overpriced. I mean, tin food is kind of that price now anyway.
Get in. So by the time YouTube takes the cut, I can't even afford a can of stag chili with that super chat. Or Brian can, I should say. What is your talk about at the Bushcraft show? Before I answer this, he followed that with health and safety and fire control. Cheers, Colin. Mine is very simple. It's the principles of preparedness. So it's back to basics. It's the core of prepping. So, and it's the same talk on both days. That's just how it works. So it's more to enlighten all the bushcrafters and the non-preppers there more than the preppers there. So that's what I'll be talking about. For your food preps, do you stockpile the ingredients to make treats such as cakes, cookies, candies, etc.? Barry?
Yep. Got flour, got yeast, got various other ingredients, etc. The wife's a dab hand with the bread maker, which works wonderfully with the Delta. So, yeah, all good.
Excellent. Alan?
I like to actually take raw ingredients when I go out. So I do have flour, I've got yeast, and I have the basic sort of pastas and rice and things like that, and I'll make things from those things. You can do a lot with flour. I mean, it's literally it's the most fundamental food in our culture, so you should learn to do make a few breads anyway. I've got like 4 breads that I like to make when I'm out and about, and some of them are really basic. One of them, the easiest bread you can possibly make, is literally just water and flour. You don't add anything else to it. It's just a mix of that. And it's a kind of drab flatbread, but it's got nutrition, so it's worth having. So, yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Same question to you, Brian. I see you with a penny and a rolling pin. I think your inner Fanny Craddock could come out, definitely.
You're like the chef out in the Muppets, mate. Birdie, birdie.
Do you stock ingredients for stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got flour, jams, honey, fruit, creamed rice, carnation milk, that sort of shit. Yeah. So, yeah, there's enough stuff to make tasty things.
See, something like pancakes and jams, you get a lot of calories out of that. And the stuff that you need for the ingredients there is quite good. It stores well. The eggs are the only thing that are a little bit shaky, but you can get egg powder, which you can make pancakes from, which isn't as good, but it does still work.
Costco do big bags of pancake mix, and I've got a couple, and they're not that expensive, and they've got a reasonable shelf life. And see for feel-good food that's quick to make and doesn't take a lot of energy in terms of gas and stuff, you could whip up some pancakes very quickly, slap some jam on it, and that sugar rust will boost your morale.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, excellent. I stock a lot of the same stuff. I know the B-roll recipes, if I'm showing my age or anyone remembers them. I know most of the B-roll recipes for shortcake and stuff like that off the back of my head. So, yeah, I'll be baking up a storm in SHTF. So
Hawkins has joined us.
Has he?
About an hour and a half into it, he's made an appearance.
The commitment on that man is appalling. Slim Yin says, would we not be better staying at home for most situations? Yes, but don't turn that into all situations. No matter how good, how amazing your home is, it can be compromised by weather, by events, by missiles, by whatever you can think of, by fire, by the neighbors, by anything. Staying at home is the best plan for a lot of people. Bugging out should never be negated, and you should always have a plan. I would just add to that. It's scary how many people cannot actually read a map and rely on sat-nav. Anyone guilty here?
True.
Anyone?
No, I can read a map.
I'll read a map.
Tell you what I am a little bit guilty of, though. See,
If you turn round as the survivalist and said, I've
I
no
can't
idea
read a
how a
map.
compass
Never even
works.
seen one.
What's a compass?
I tell you what, the map reading skills are pretty good, but see, the navigation in the car has fell by the wayside a little bit. So I am guilty of putting in an address on my phone on a car and then going to a place and not really knowing how the hell I got there because I've just blindly followed my phone. Whereas, back in the day where you would have a sort of A to Z and you would follow a route card, turn left here, go down this, I don't really do that anymore. I've used my phone a lot, and it's a terrible thing to get into the habit of doing. But the UK is quite easy to navigate around, but
I'm guilty as well. I use the sat nav even when I know I'm going somewhere because it tells me if there's traffic. It tells me if there's an accident. So I use it for that more than anything else. It's intel, right? It's no point saying, I'm a prepper, I'll never use sat nav. Why would you not use all the tools at your disposal while they're at your disposal? It would be my argument. Mike, have you any patches left? If you do, are you bringing any to the Bushcraft show? I'll bring some. Yeah, I've got only the ones with the UK Prepper Network. The ones without the text around the outside are on pre-order. They're not on pre-order now. They're on pre-order for you. I've ordered them. They're being made. And so are the key rings at the moment. So they're on the way, but the only ones I'll have at the Bushcraft show are not even behind me. I'm terrible. Are the original ones, but I'll bring you some Storage Mouse if you're there. Make sure you give us a wave. Brian, after all the Pepsi, are your teeth your own?
No. I'm scared of the dentist, right? I'll openly admit that. That spiders. So I put off for a long time going to the dentist. And when I did go, it was basically to turn up and I would tell them just to pull the tooth out rather than a drill because I hate the drill. So I ended up with 2 abscesses in my front 2 teeth. I rarely drink, and I drank a half bottle of vodka and a full packet of Nurofen, and I had a bit of string tied on the bathroom door and my feet against the door, and I couldn't even get the string round my teeth. It was that sore. So I bit the bullet and went to the dentist and spent a year in the chair, which ended up with an implant, 7 crowns, more fillings than a horse could shite, and a couple extractions. So no, they're not my own. They're they're enhanced, as I tell the kids, because the root's still the bit below the gum's still there. They're enhanced.
Just get yourself to Turkey and get some of those turkey teeth. Those big.
Because I need to look like like Barry Gibb, the prepper.
I'll sort you out half price with Mike's dental balls. Don't worry, I can make your teeth. I can make your fangs.
I don't want Mike's balls anywhere near my mouth. Thanks very much.
You lie to yourself.
Dental or otherwise.
How often are some of you men on the bog?
What?
Where the hell did that come from?
What a shit question.
I mean, sure, right? Yeah, I'm quite regular once a day. There we go. I'm happy to share.
Well, I don't. I think that's got to be answered properly, as in men solve a lot of problems of the world on the throne, right? That's why we die in the toilet and spend ages contemplating the life's problems and making the universe right. And it's not a shit, isn't a 5-minute process. It's a tactical decision. It could be a 20-minute evolution, contemplating preps and everything in between. So women have got to understand that. That's what it's like for us.
There we go. I mean, I'm not sure. I'd love to know if there's context to that question. So please feel free to pop that in. Give me a second here. I'm just getting an answer for Colin, who said, "What's the time and location of your talk?" And I've got it somewhere here. There we go. I'm on the early 11 o'clock each day, and it's there's an actual prepper zone at the Bushcraft show. So I'll be 11 o'clock in the morning each day. Probably is more hungover on the second day than the first.
Is that a new thing they've got there, the prepper zone? I was at the Bushcraft show a few years ago. I don't remember seeing any preppers there.
Last 2 years, I think it's kind of the first one. About 2 years ago was just a small thing. It was a bit bigger last year, but it's Tom, the Prepared Pathfinder, who's helping organize it this year, and it's getting a bit bigger each time, and it's quite good, and it's a good crossover because it does cross over between bushcrafters and stuff like that. So,
well, I mean, that's an indicator as to the kind of mindset that a lot of people in the bushcrafty side or the survival side are taking now, because they're starting to realise, you know, the world is changing a little bit, and that's probably why you're seeing more preppery type stuff at these events and more crossovers, I think.
Yeah, so I can tell you. Oh, actually, no, I've been bumped even earlier. I'm at 10, super early. So I'm the first one talking on each day. Principles of prepping, self-defense 11, bug out bags at 12, first aid at 1, CBRN at 2, mindset and mental health at 3. Rogue Roger Combat as well, who has been on the podcast before. He will be there doing his CBRN demo there as well, and doing water, I believe, on the second day as well. So there you go. What the heck? It's a question. Okay. I think more fillings than a horse could shite. Is that a technical term?
Industry standard, mate. Industry standard.
There you go. Yellow Jackets is a TV show. It goes, how difficult wilderness survival. It is actually really good series. Both me and the missus have watched that, so that's really good. Anyway,
check that out. I've never seen it.
It's your classic. What was the film in the Andes? Alive.
Yeah.
It's like that. Other. Yeah, but it's a girls' soccer team from the States, and it's like in the outback of America somewhere, sort of thing. So it's a cool one. Yeah. Interesting, definitely. Right, I think that's it for our questions, or that's all we've got time for anyway. We are approaching the hour, so before we end, we've still got 279 people in here. I know for a fact you're not all booked on the Bushcraft, the Scottish Prepper Meet, because there isn't that many tickets sold. So get over to it, Scottish Prepper Meet. The link is in the chat 1 million times. For me, for my stuff, you can always support me on Patreon as well, where there's also unfiltered mic videos that I can't put on YouTube because they're too naughty for YouTube. So go on, not in that way, Brian.
Crotchless mic videos on Patreon.
Barry nearly choked.
Was that in the video?
There's different levels of membership. So yeah, loads of videos coming up. I might have some extra time on my hands soon, so I'll do even more content. But Brian, tell us what's coming up on Scottish Prepper 73 and why people should go over and check you out.
I've been really busy, mate. I'm probably going to do a live next on Mylar bagging, using oxygen absorbers, and I've got loads of pasta and rice still to put away. So it's probably just going to be chewing the fat, answering some questions while I'm working at the same time. That'll be the next video.
Sounds good. Barry, can you tell us all about Brown Coat Prepper UK and what you've got coming up on yours?
I haven't been putting as much out as I'd like to be honest, lately. I've got some stuff in the pipeline that's ready to come out soon. Hopefully the one out in the next couple of days. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to spoil it for anybody if they decide to watch it.
Okay, well, really sold it there. I'm not telling you.
Mate,
subscribe and find out.
I'm easygoing. People either watch me or they don't. It's their choice, you know.
Excellent. Go and subscribe to Brown Coat Prepper UK to see what the mystery's all about. Alan, World Survivalist, what's coming up on yours channel?
Well, my channel's usually quite slow as well, but yeah, there's a few things scheduled on there. I think the next video in a couple of days was I waxed my M65 jacket, which I've never seen anybody else do before. It was a bit of a mission, to be honest.
I was waiting for that to see if it went well or if you were going to be crying into a wax crumbled heap.
I've done it. The video is available for my member. I think I've got 2 members on my channel now. So they can view it right now because they've got early access, but it will be available, and I think it comes out on Tuesday. So that's the next one. And I've got 3 or 4 other videos now in the pipeline because I've came back from 2 separate trips out in the woods, so they'll appear in the next month or 2.
Excellent. And still on you then, Alan, any final thoughts on the subject when it comes to security threats and situational awareness?
I think don't become overwhelmed with everything in the world that's going on, because there really is just too much of it that's going on. Be aware of your own surroundings and your own lifestyle and your own life situation, and prep for that as opposed to anything else. Be aware of what's going on in the world, but don't get overly bogged down or disheartened by what's going on in the world, especially stuff you can't control. And like I always say, I would suggest to everybody to spend a little bit of time to take yourself away from social media and the news and go into the woods and even just go for a walk. Because from a mental health point of view and just getting back to nature point of view, it's a good thing to do.
Excellent. Thank you. Did Alan just say he waxed his member? No, his jacket.
That's what I call it.
So you found out
any final?
He'll show you if you walk in the woods.
any final thoughts, Brian? On topic thought.
Yeah, listen. We talk about common sense, but rarely encounter it. If you think something's a bad idea, don't be pressured into doing it by your social circumstances, the people round about you, or any other reason. Bad choices are bad choices. It's pretty simple. Try and live your life in fear. We prep to make life better, no, not worse. If you're sitting terrified because you're counting tins of beans every night, that's a problem in itself. That's no prepping.
Right. Okay. Yep. Fair enough. Barry, final thoughts?
No, thanks for you guys again for having me on, and thanks for everybody that's in the chat and all the comments. Very entertaining as usual, and we hope to see you all on the next one.
Excellent. A couple of shout outs for me before I go. Mary Jane, thank you very much for the crate of Coke and the random little pantry bits that she sent to me through my wish list. Also for John, he sent me a case of Coke. I've got 2 cases of Coke. Honestly, it's brilliant. So
people don't like you, do they?
Good taste, people.
Imagine sending that shit to you.
And a massive shout out to ahead of her time. From YouTube, who just sent a donation on PayPal and said, hope you're able to find a job soon, all the best. So thank you to you guys, you're awesome. Big shout out to all our moderators tonight. Miss Worm, our chief mod, go and check out her channel if you want a break from the prepping world and just some scary stories and some cool stuff. Go and check her out on YouTube, not on Spotify because they're fake. Go and check her out on YouTube. And all the other moderators tonight across both channels, Mel, Evil Girl, Purple, everyone there. I'm going to have to write a list down so I can get everyone's name done at the end for these things. But thank you to you all. You work really hard across all of our channels, keeping everyone safe. So thanks very much. And we will see you all possibly before next Sunday from a weird remote location.
In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance, living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue. glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance. Living simple, living true.